Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and today I'm talking with Dawn Madsen. She is the host of The Minimal Mom on YouTube, and she has a podcast. And by now, I'm sure you've heard of this concept of minimalism, but today we're talking about how Dawn's faith has impacted her minimalism journey, as well as the legacy that her parents left her that had nothing to do with managing stuff. And so I hope that this episode is very encouraging for you, whatever your weaknesses are and whatever your strengths are, that they will have a lasting impact on your kids for the better. Dawn has been part of the Soaring Mothers Summit, which you can access below at the link thrivingandmotherhoodpodcast.com/summit to watch her as well as 30 other women come together to help you feel excited about motherhood again, to feel inspired and refreshed and encouraged, and to get direction. The very first pillar we talk about to get out of survival mode is vision. And so you can come to the summit and get a lot of ideas to influence you in creating your own vision for motherhood.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation, and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
I want to take just a moment and share a free gift that I've created for you called 3 Secrets to Do More of What You Love Without Hiring a Babysitter. This workshop is available for you to go watch right now and start taking action on so that you can do more of what you want to do, more of what's on your heart, more of what is important to you. With your children at home. You don't have to wait for them to be in school or for you to have loads of time. There are ways to start moving forward right now. And you can check that out at thrivingandmotherhoodpodcast.com/workshop. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thriving in Motherhood podcast. I'm here with Dawn Madsen. Dawn, welcome.
Thank you. This is so fun to be with you today.
We talked about a year ago as part of the Soaring Mothers Summit, and I'm excited to have you back now on the podcast and get to know a little bit more about you and your, story. We talked very expert focused on simplifying and minimalism there, and that will of course be a part of today's discussion as well. But thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no, this is really fun. I love everything that you're doing and that you stand for. So this is awesome.
Thanks. So why don't you just start with telling us what motherhood looks like for you right now?
So right now we have 4 kids ages 8 through 13. So our oldest 2 daughters are 11 and 13. And then we have 2 boys that are 10 and 8. And so it's very busy, even though we're very intentional about not overloading our schedule and keeping it minimal. It's still just a lot going on all of the time. And so I am so grateful that we had previously simplified our home, because I don't know how I would manage this season if I was still trying to manage all of the stuff I was managing in the past too, on top of the driving and cooking and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm actually just going to jump in and start asking you questions, because one of the questions that I've been getting a lot, and as I've been talking with moms about what's overwhelming them right now and building systems, it's all about their house. Like, they're so overwhelmed with their house, and to the point where they feel like they can't do anything until they've got their house under control. Yeah. So I'm curious for you. So I feel like my approach has been, I've been working on my house and I've also been doing other projects. That's been my personal experience, but I'm curious for you, what was your experience? Like, did you have to do the house before you can do other things? Because you do a lot of things now.
Yeah, I actually did my house first, and then the other things. I think what happened was I simplified my house, and then I found more confidence in myself again. And then I felt like in a highly simplified environment, it feels like there's more possibilities. Like for some, like you're very motivated. Like Jessica, I think you could succeed even in a cluttered house, right? Like we're all different and we all have different thresholds for stuff and what we can all juggle at one time. But for me, I felt like I kind of was drowning in motherhood. We had 4 kids. 4 and under, 8 years ago. And I was just like, how could I possibly take on anything else when I can't even keep toys picked up and laundry done and dinner made? And so for me, the simplifying and decluttering my house came first. And then I had more confidence to pursue other things.
Okay, let's talk about that confidence, because I was just talking with someone the other day and they said to me that I feel like because I can't get my house picked up, that it's a personal attack on who I am.
Yes, 1000%. I would look around at my messy house, and now I can look back and see this very clearly, that it was telling me like, you're a bad mom, you're lazy, you're unorganized, you don't finish anything that you start. You have all these great ideas, but none of them ever come to pass. You're a bad wife. Like, all of these negative things about myself. And so how on earth could I think I would have anything to offer anyone else at that point?
Yeah. So I've been following you since you lived in a different house and we're just posting pictures on a blog.
Wow.
Can you go back? I found you on Pinterest or something, like in a desperate moment, because I didn't function super great in a messy house. Okay. So maybe take us all the way back to like the very beginning of your start of journey on this.
Yeah. So we were living in a townhouse. We had 4 kids, ages 4 and under. I got to be a stay-at-home mom. And I really felt like that was something that I should cherish and enjoy, that it was a privilege. I knew a lot of other moms that would love to stay home with their kids, but their household, required their income too. And so I felt so conflicted all of the time, because I'm like, why do I feel actually really resentful towards being a mom and staying home? Why am I unhappy? Why do I feel unfulfilled? And I was just one day also on Pinterest, like, I don't know, trying to find meal planning things or something. And I came across this podcast, and it had Joshua Becker on it, who's a very well-known minimalist. And he was just sharing his story of his neighbor telling him, like, did you know you don't have to have all of this stuff? And as he said that, did you know you don't have to have all of this stuff? And I'm looking around at all the toys and clothes and dirty dishes, and I'm like, no, Joshua, I didn't know I didn't have to have all this stuff. Like, I thought this is what you have when you have kids and you're running a household and you have all the things you registered for your wedding. And these are the things your mom had and your neighbor has. Like, this is what you have when you have a family. And no one had ever said anything to me like that before. And again, this is 8 years ago. I think simple living is becoming more mainstream now and not so foreign. But after he said that, I am like Googling, because I am like, okay, how many toys do my kids need? Like, how many forks do I need? How many bath towels did I need? And there was nothing like out there. And so I had vowed from that moment on, I'm like, if I ever get my house decluttered and simplified, I am going to, like, at the time, I'm like, I'll start a blog and I'm going to tell everyone how many forks to have. Right. And then from there, it would evolve into YouTube, because I actually don't like writing and I'd rather just show you that kind of stuff. But it changed everything. Again, like, the confidence began to build again. I enjoyed being a mom. I was like, okay, like, this isn't so bad. We still have our moments, but this is so much more fun now, not having to manage so much stuff. I didn't feel like a loser as a wife. And, I think even that sometimes I would think to myself, it was like every day I would have a different thought. I'm looking at the clock when Tom will get home from work. And I'm like, okay, there's like an hour left. Like, I could get up now. I could pick everything up. I could have dinner started. And some days I was like, yes, like, I should do that. He is working hard. Like, I'm working hard too, but it's different. Like, part of my role now, I really think, is to maintain the house. And like, I would love for him to come home to a picked up house and everything. And then other days I was just like, whatever, like, he gets to go to work. He gets to be by adults every day. And, there's kind of this like rise in these thoughts of like, motherhood is messy and like this hot mess culture. And like, men shouldn't expect this, like, of their stay-at-home wives, like, they have to participate too. And it was all just very confusing. And so as we got our house simplified and decluttered, I was like, oh, this doesn't have to be a power struggle. It doesn't have to be my rights, his rights, all that. It's like, actually just, we were trying to manage too much stuff. And as we got it pared down, so it's manageable for myself and for him, it's actually very easy to work out these dynamics of who does what and everything, because it is so much less to manage and no one in our house is overwhelmed by it anymore.
That is so powerful because you are right. Right now, in particular, I feel like even more than 8 years ago, that is a dynamic of you shouldn't be doing so much. You should have your house, husband doing things is so loud. And also that lowering of expectations for moms, right? Messy buns
Yeah.
are fine. Just do whatever you want. Like it's going to be
Yeah.
hard. And
Right.
and I had this moment after, it was probably 3.5 years ago. We just moved here. I just had my fourth baby and I was watching one of your videos and you had said you were more important than your stuff. And I just spent the day fighting with my kids and feeling anxiety and like stressed and frazzled about it. And went around my house and I was like, that's it, Andrew, we are done. And I just took a bin and I was like, this is all going in time will tell. I cannot make any more decisions. I'm too tired, and put it in the back of my closet. It's still in the back of my closet. But after that point, like the fighting gone, like we set ourselves, like the kids no longer minded, like they can clean up any space in 2 minutes. Like that was the key. I was like, they have to be able to clean up a space in 2 minutes. Otherwise they're not going to do it. Right. So that's our entire downstairs. But it's kind of like what you're saying. Like we don't have to fight about, so many problems just go away. They just go away naturally when you hit the right threshold.
Right. Absolutely.
And to that point, my kids want me to tell you, they know you.
That's so cool. I know some kids, they're like, don't minimal mom my toys or my bedroom or whatever. So if they have positive thoughts around me, that's awesome.
Yes. No, they appreciate your clothing method. That's what I had them do with me. I was like, guys, we got to figure this out. Let's count your clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's good what you mentioned, because a lot of moms are like, where's the line, right? Like how much should they have? And I truly believe that kids should be able to manage their toys and their possessions at any age. So for a 2-year-old, that's actually very little, but you find out that kids are minimalist at heart and they thrive in highly simplified areas. And our kids are growing up in a very loud and noisy world. And so it is a gift that we can give to them to have a home that is a haven, that we protect that environment, that it is safe. You can let your guard down here, you can recharge here, and then we're better able to take on everything that the world throws at us.
Absolutely. And that leads into my next question, which is, how has your faith played into your dynamics of both motherhood and simplifying and minimalism? Because that I feel like is not talked about. I feel like minimalism is normally like the religion. And
Mm-hmm.
So how does your faith fit into that?
Yeah, I didn't think about it at the time when I started, but now that I look back, I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, the Bible has so much to say about our stuff and idols. And my favorite verse is 1 Timothy 6:6-8, that says, "For godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into this world and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we'll be content with that." And if I would have read this like 8, 9, 10 years ago, I would have thought, oh man, that is like a call to live sacrificially, right? To live like Jesus, to have very few possessions. And so, Lord, I will begrudgingly lay down my stuff so that I am a better servant to you. And now I look at it and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is such good news. This is an invitation to a lifestyle where we can let the stuff go because it adds no value. And as I have simplified my home to the point where we just have food and clothing, a few toys, like some dishes, right? But very little to own. How little owns us and how much it has freed up our time and energy to be able to care about other people. It is so hard to care about others when we are drowning in our own house.
That is true. So what is like opened up for you then, caring about others? What does that look like for your family?
Yeah. So a year ago, we got to go on a missions trip to Mexico as a family, and our kids are a little older now, so that kind of stuff is practical. But even the cost of it and everything, I don't know that I would have entertained it in the past. But what was so cool when we got down there, I had been on a mission trip to Venezuela when I was a young adult. And when you first see that level of poverty for the first time, it is very impactful to see how little other people live with other areas of the world, how modestly they live. Even that was a lasting impression on me, and I think has played into me living with less more successfully. And so I was thinking, we're going to go down there. My kids are going to get that same experience. And so they'll come back with a different perspective of how much we need and how fortunate we are here. What I didn't expect was throughout the week that we were down there, we got to meet 4 women that had totally given their lives to serving other people. One gal ran an after-school program for children. One ran an orphanage. One gal, Dorothy, was rescuing women from trafficking. And then another woman was setting up homes for women that were coming out of abusive marriages. And so these women they had given up everything. Dorothy did not even have running water at their facility. And she is 85 years old. And like literally the day we were there, she was showing us the facility and how they give women skills. And so that they're setting them up to be successful in life. And then she was like, I'm really sorry, like enjoy eating at our restaurant. The women are going to serve you, but I have to go pick up another woman. She is 85 years old, like still feet on the ground, like doing the work. And I came back home and I was like, oh my goodness, not only are we so incredibly fortunate, but what the heck are we doing to like help others and serve other people? That I thought I was going to like teach my kids a lesson. I came back just like, what are we doing? And so for us, that looks like getting licensed for foster care, welcoming other kids into our home, partnering. We helped to raise money to build a well for Dorothy so they could at least have running water. But I came back with such a different perspective. But again, I don't know if I would have taken advantage of these opportunities if I didn't have my house simplified, if I didn't feel like things were under control under our own roof. So now we could start to look at helping others.
I love that so much. That's a beautiful, first of all, I just love their example of taking whatever they had and letting God magnify it and do so much good. But I think one of the things that spoke to me, you were part of the Soaring Mothers Summit. And that word soar came from a moment when I was like losing it with like around my house, trying to load the dishes and just at night praying, so discouraged. And God gave me that word. And then he said, S means serve. I need you to get your house simplified so that you have the capacity to serve others.
Yeah.
And to use those gifts and talents. And anyway, I feel like that is a message, right? Like we get when we are so weighed down by stuff, we really do miss the mark about what matters.
Today, I'm excited to share with you about the Made to Soar Next 90 Days program. It is a self-paced online course with lots of interaction from me that has transformed the lives of women from all around the world as they have learned to build unique family systems that support them in their own unique life circumstances, that allow the necessary and essential things of life to get done and leave time and energy to do what matters most to them. I'm going to let some women who have been through the program tell you a little bit more about their experience now.
Just mucking through the day was just survival. And then I was like, the thought of trying to do anything extra was like, well, that's just never gonna happen.
I think with Made to Soar, I don't know, I was probably hoping that it'd be the magic bullet for morning.
We had no systems in our house. We had no morning, we had no routines. Like we were.
How can I infuse meaning into my life? And even if I do the same thing, how can I think about it differently so that I'm feeling fulfilled?
And so that was my goal in joining the Next 90 Days, was to figure out how to kind of handle all of these different domains. How do I become intentional with all of these things and make sure that I'm meeting my own expectations?
Now I have systems set in place that things like the laundry, just automatic, things get done.
Because I was able to have the foundation of some of these systems and routines, when things got crazy, I could still go back to those and be like, okay, well, at least the laundry got done. At least my kids got fed. At least I read the Bible and did my workout today.
So it helped me go through a couple big moves and big changes and to keep some level of stability for the family.
Figuring out how do I homeschool? How do I do it with consistency and some level of discipline? And then how do I build a business and still find meaningful work outside of my home? All of that, I wouldn't have known how to organize it. It was all kind of just like spaghetti in my brain.
With Made to Soar, just gaining clarity about what I wanted my days and weeks to look like, my hours and my spare minutes.
This is how we get to where we want to go, and just changing those expectations has helped me to be happier.
I have power to change my circumstances, right? That I can put in new routines. I can solve some of these problems. I can think about things differently, and realize that I have power to be in a better place.
Yeah. And I think, too, what we don't realize, like I've been learning a lot more recently too about the impact that our clutter has on us, even mentally, and how, the correlation between clutter and heightened stress levels and heightened anxiety. And I think, we live in a world where something horrible happens every week. And we're in a home then where we don't fully get to let our guard down. It doesn't feel safe. And we don't realize that it's because of the extra stuff and the clutter, because often this stuff has been marketed to us like, no, this will make your life better and easier and safer in a way. But we don't actually understand that this clutter is making it feel like the world really is a scary and unsafe place, when that's not true. Like statistically, the world has never been safer. Like we're actually living in a very safe time in history. Do horrible things still happen? Yes, but not to the majority of us. But it begins to feel like the world is very scary and it's very negative and only bad things happen. And so it is amazing too, as we simplify, that we can have a better expectation of like what the world is actually like, and we're more hope-filled and we feel more empowered to make a difference. And I wouldn't have ever connected that with clutter and how much stuff I had in my house.
Yeah, that is incredible. And to that end, what would you recommend to a mom that's still in that place of overwhelm with her house? Are there things that you would even do differently than what you did to help them get there faster?
Yeah, I would start with the kitchen and with toys. So the kitchen, we spend a lot of time in the kitchen. And Tom had said one time, he had said, I feel like when the kitchen's when the kitchen's clean, life feels under control. And it was really interesting to me how he made that connection of like, if the kitchen's clean and picked up, it does feel like life's under control. And I'm like, that's actually kind of true. And I grew up in a messy house. I've always been a very messy person. And I thought I was kind of immune to it. And then I'm like, oh yeah. And when the kitchen's decluttered, I don't mind cooking. I always thought I didn't like cooking. And I'm like, oh, if the kitchen's simplified, it's easy to keep clean. It's easy to put stuff away. I actually don't mind cooking that much. And so I cook more and I keep it clean. And then I feel more successful and I feel like a better mom. And again, please don't hear me wrong. Like, a messy house or a clean house does not have any bearing on your motherhood. Motherhood is about relationships, right? Like my mom was an awesome mom, even though she raised me in a messy house. And I feel like she got so much stuff right. It's just that she was working 2 jobs and we lived on a farm, and cleaning was always at the bottom of the priority list. So you can be a very good mom in a messy house, but most of us do feel like the same thing. Oh, when the kitchen's clean, I feel like life is under control. So I would start with the kitchen. And what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, okay, what type of cooking am I doing right now? What season of life am I in? And so, like I said, we're in a busy season right now. And so I am doing like survival cooking. Like it is quick. It is like the same things over and over again. I don't apologize for it. Like that is, if you want to cook something else, like you go for it, right? But this is what I'm doing. And so I use the same things over and over again. I'm not doing elaborate baking or other things. So anything that was for a different season of cooking, I have had to move out of my kitchen. Anything I registered for my wedding that I'm not using, out of my kitchen. Anything I had just because that's what my mom had in her kitchen or that's what my grandma had in her kitchen, it's gone. Anything I acquired because it was cute, or I went to a Pampered Chef party and the demonstrator made it look so easy to use, and so I thought I needed one, or I was on Instagram and someone recommended this gadget on Amazon and turns out it wasn't actually that great. Anything that is not making my cooking easier and better right now, I decided to move that stuff out of my kitchen, and it makes it so much easier to keep clean.
Okay, so is it gone, or just like in a storage tote?
Good question. So for me, I have the confidence now to just declutter it, to donate it and be done with it. But if you are in the beginning, let's use a time will tell bin, like you had mentioned. Just toss it into a bin, a Amazon box, a Rubbermaid tote that you have around, put a label on it, put the date on it, and then you can go back and grab stuff out if you would decide that you need it. But I don't know about you, Jessica. I forget all the stuff that I put in there. I go to declutter and I'm like, yep, did not miss any of this.
Yeah. Okay. So what about stuff you use like once a year? Because I'm thinking like, I've got this one cupboard that's sort of annoying because I don't get rid of these like few pans, but I know I'm going to use the pans for birthdays. Like, what do you do with that?
Good question. So, well, we have basements here in Minnesota, but I have 2 clear Rubbermaid bins that are like my kitchen overflow. And so I keep those in my basement. I know others keep them in their garage, maybe in the attic, maybe under the bed. Like we keep like our large griddle does not fit in our kitchen. Our kitchen's very small. And so that lives under the bed in our bedroom because it's adjacent to the kitchen. And so I do keep infrequent use stuff just in other places. I really want the kitchen. Like my goal is that every cabinet in every drawer is only half full. Like I used to think that they had to be full. Like that was how a kitchen was. And then I found actually Cass from Clutterbug, she'll say like, it has to be just as easy to put something away as it is to leave it out. And for me, that means drawers and cabinets can only be about half full. That's how it's easy to put stuff away, easy to see what you have and to get to it.
I love that. I feel like we have a really small kitchen and I feel like it's pretty decluttered, but hearing you talking, I'm like, yeah, there's stuff I really don't use that often. I need to go through it again. That would be, it just sounds so freeing and light.
It is so freeing. Like I'm about to make another pass through our kitchen too. And once you get it like really, really, really highly decluttered, it's so enjoyable. Like I love opening cabinets now and they're like a third full. It makes my heart happy. I don't know. And I never thought, like I said, I'm a messy person. I don't like organizing. I've never liked cleaning. And now I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of enjoyable. Like now I kind of feel like a Proverbs 31 woman, right? Like I'm just like, oh, maybe the reason we've hated keeping up our homes is because there was just too much stuff, right? Like when cleaning is putting away stuff for an hour before you can even actually get to mopping the floor and wiping everything down, that's not enjoyable. Like that's not fun at all.
No, not at all. Well, and one of my favorite books is Stephen Covey, Begin with the End. And he talks about 7 Habits of Highly People, Begin with the End in Mind. And one of the things I realized was like, I do want to do other things. I am the kind of mom that would rather be outside with my kids than cleaning. And I don't stay up late because I like to wake up early. So I'm not going to stay up late cleaning. So it was like, well, then I just have to accept that that's my personality trait. So therefore we have to have less stuff.
Well, and most of us too, as moms, like we want to involve our kids with cooking and cleaning. Like we really want to instill those skills. And I felt like when it was so overwhelming, I mean, I felt guilty making the kids pick up their toys because I'm like, if I feel overwhelmed with it, they must be completely overwhelmed. So what am I doing? I'm like picking up all their toys and I'm doing all the laundry and I'm doing all the dishes. I'm loading and unloading the dishwasher because it just felt like too much to even ask them to participate in. And now that our house is simplified, I am like, oh yeah, no, you can do laundry. You can load the dishwasher. Adeline, like it cooks dinner like 3 nights a week. The other kids are learning too. It's so easy to involve them now because I'm not overwhelmed by it. And I know it's very manageable for them too.
Yeah, that is so important because I feel like that is involving kids is a very high priority for me. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it's hard to be successful when you're all drowning in mess and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got 3 questions I want to ask you that I ask all my guests as we're wrapping up. So first of all, what is something that you've mastered?
I would like to think I have mastered decluttering my home. It doesn't mean we ever arrive. It's never done. As long as there's 6 people living in my house, there's always stuff coming in. But I've gotten really good at moving it back out again, knowing what things were just meant to serve us for a season, and just being able to let stuff go, knowing now that it makes my life so much easier and better.
Okay. Do you have a system for decluttering since you're really good at it and it never ends?
Yeah, I think, probably the biggest mindset shift that has really helped me is that I look at everything in my house as inventory that I have to manage. And so for most of us as women, we are the chief inventory manager in our homes, right? Like our husbands have their own type of inventory. But for most of us, like our own stuff, the kids stuff, household stuff, we're pretty much the chief inventory managers. And so I really look at physical items as tools that are meant to serve me and make my life easier. That is the only thing anything is created. Like it is meant to serve us and make our life easier. And so I've gotten really good at seeing things for what they are. And if it is not helping me right now, or if it didn't live up to the hype, I still fall prey to marketing and buying things, late at night on Instagram. And so I just recognize now, like, okay, I bought that thing. It was marketed to me. I thought it was going to solve this problem I'm having, and it didn't. And that's okay. That happens. I don't beat myself up for it. I just say, okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to donate it. I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to sell it and let somebody else try and make use of it.
Love that. So good. Number 2, what's something that you're still working on?
Parenting. Oh my goodness. Like just when I feel like I get like an age and a stage figured out and I'm like, oh, now we're here. Okay. Like our 13-year-old is like, I want to start wearing makeup. And I'm like, no, like, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I actually have to think about this a little bit and see, I don't know. Should we not? I don't know. Right. And so, yeah, I'm just constantly learning new things. And I do, again, feel like simplifying my home makes it so I have the bandwidth to be able to learn new skills for parenting as the need arises.
Yeah, that's reassuring. I'm right there. my 10-year-old, I'm like, okay, this is way different than the 5-year-old thing that I thought was hard.
It is. And each stage has its own beauty to it. Like,
oh no, it's way fun. It gets more fun.
I actually love them so much. Like I'm really enjoying the older ages. Actually, the ages they are right now, like if I could freeze this season, I would. But it still takes a lot of like energy. Well,
I feel like it's like personal development. I'm like, okay, for me to be able to meet you with what you need, like I have to evolve as a person. It's like you are super enjoyable and I love our relationship, but I have a lot to learn on myself to be able to keep doing this. Yeah. Okay. And when you look back to yourself 13 years ago, holding your daughter for the very first time, all the way to now, what is the biggest change that you see in yourself?
I think I look at parenting different. I think I look at it as developing really strong relationships and not so much about, did they learn this and are they doing this? Or that if one of the kids like talks back to us or is snarky or something, in the past, I would have been like, wow, I am a failure. Like, where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? And now I'm really looking at the big picture. And I don't get so hung up on the little interactions or the little things that don't go as planned or don't go right. And I think my parents actually did a really great job of this. Like I said, I don't, our house was not clean. My mom did not teach me cleaning or decluttering or even cooking, right? Like some kind of major life skills, but they did relationships so well. And they were always helping other people and they involved me in the process. And I feel like a lot of my self-confidence and my self-worth growing up was realizing, even at a young age, that my life could have an impact on other people's lives. Like there were things I could do to help them and to serve them and to make them feel better. And I feel like that has given me so much sense of purpose and confidence in myself. And I really want my kids to have that too. Like I want them to believe they're capable, which I think comes through like doing chores and me trusting them with things around the house. And I want them to know that they can make a huge impact on other people too. And so I think I look a lot more big picture now and I don't get so caught up on just like sometimes they can just be so mean, right? Or mean to each other. And I'm just like, where did I go wrong? And I'm like, no, it's okay. Like that will still happen. But some of the other big things we're getting right. So it's okay.
I love that perspective so much. I know we're wrapping up, but what are some of those things that did help you get involved in helping others? Like, what are some examples?
Yeah. So we were in 4-H growing up, which, it's kind of like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts combined because it was boys and girls together, usually for like farm families or rural families. And then it also had all the ages, like it was like kindergarten through seniors in high school. And I loved that. It was like you really learned how to interact with older kids. But through that, we were always doing service projects. So we would go to like retirement centers and play bingo, or we would go and make Christmas cards with them. We were always doing like cleanup projects and gosh, I can't remember all the things. And so we had that opportunity, but also my parents, they would just help anyone that needed help. If someone's car broke down, my dad would help fix it. If they went in the ditch, he would be the one pulling them out. My mom would just like, she's just like drawn to needs. Like If there was women that needed help with childcare but couldn't afford it, okay, we'll go over and babysit. And so, and what else was really cool about it, like we had no money growing up, right? This is gonna make me cry talking about it. My parents never drew attention to the fact that other people had nicer cars and they had nicer things and they had brand name clothes. Like it did not matter. I cannot even think of one time that they would be like, oh, well, that must be nice, or we'll look at them, or something like that. They drew no attention to that. And that has stuck with me so much. And I think it's really helped me to be able to loosen my grip on stuff and realize like this stuff does not matter. Like we brought nothing into this world. We can take nothing from it, but people are the point. And I think for any of us, if we start to get a little inward focused, it can start to feel like my life is meaningless. Like, what am I here for? Who cares? No one even notices me. And if we will find a way to intersect our lives with other people, it is amazing how quickly that can turn around. I know we're landing the plane here, but there's a study that shows that like if you will volunteer and help other people one time a week, it is like you tripled your income. The satisfaction and increases happiness is like you got 150% raise or 300% raise. I don't know what it is, but it's like you got this huge increase in money, because that is actually what brings value and purpose to our life, is helping other people. It is not the stuff. And like, if I can help my kids to learn that, then I think I'll be a success.
Dawn, I appreciate two things from that. One, that I feel like whatever you're doing well as a mom, like your example of your mother, right? Like we can always find things we are doing well and not doing well. And it's just, there's no way of knowing what little things you're doing that will have lasting impact on our kids. And I find so much hope in that.
Yeah.
And two, just this idea of the things that really matter don't require money. They don't require extra power positions or jobs or entrepreneurship. Like we can all bring a little bit of this into our own lives. So that's beautiful. Okay, let's wrap up with where people can find you.
So I spend most of my time on YouTube, but we have over 700 videos to help you simplify and declutter your house. So if you just search The Minimal Mom on YouTube, you will be flooded with videos. And then we have a couple books and a devotional for decluttering, and you can find those at theminimalmom.com.
Excellent. We'll put those in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Jessica.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.